So I finally managed to get the cockpit assembled. So what I needed to do was not pretty. I needed to take a hammer and really sort of wrench it, use it as leverage to bend the steel back. Needed 2 people, feet against the wall, and just crank it hard. I don't have any longer wrenches to give me more leverage than a hammer to use as a lever. But we finally managed to bend it slightly and then use the hammer to hammer it flat on at least the side where it assembles. It doesn't look nice, but we finally managed to get it to a point where it fits over the rail. If you've seen my previous video, the part 1 of this review, then you'll know that I ran into a bit of an issue when I was trying to assemble the RSeat. The center railing of the nose cone section was bent in such a way just upon delivery, and it just wouldn't fit over the railing of the bottom seat mount. And because of that, I couldn't put it together. I have to say, I'm so disappointed with RSeat. Their customer service is absolutely abysmal. They just giving me this disparaging response saying, hey, I'll get back to you, I'll update you, I'll tell you more by Monday because I'm really busy. And Monday comes, radio silence. I haven't received a single email response back yet. It's been 2 weeks, 2+ weeks actually. And I'm just lucky to have one customer service rep's cell phone number, and therefore I can send them a WhatsApp message asking about this. And otherwise I wouldn't even get those disparaging remarks. I would get absolutely nothing. So it's quite disappointing to know that you spent this amount of money. I mean, it's a lot of money for many folks to spend on a seat, and to get this kind of response, right? This is Apple money, but dollar store customer service. So very disappointing. That aside, we managed to put it together with lots of effort and lots of hammering and trying to fix it, which is sort of fitting nicely now. I look at it now and it looks very pretty. So I managed to fit the nose cone over the seat bottom. Next thing you do then is put the wheel brace bars, these sort of bars with the white grommets inside. And in fact, on the website it says that this would come with both the white grommets and the black ones, and you can sort of mix them up or change them if you want. Well, guess what? That didn't come either. So another missed promise by RSeat. So good luck claiming that 3-year warranty if you ever need it. The next thing you do is put on the pedal support plates, and they go on these 2 rails here, would slide back and forth depending on how long your legs are and how close you want to be to your pedals. And as soon as you tighten these screws, they will tighten and they won't move any further. So I recommend you don't tighten them right away until you assemble the rest of the seat and your wheel and figure everything out around your seating position before you tighten them. So I loosely put them together, and then the angle of the plate also can be adjustable. You can see sort of the holes on the sides here that would allow you to adjust the angle. And then also, as well as your ankle support, you can adjust the angle of that as well. And you can actually open it up a little bit so that your pedals, if they have a bottom plate, they can slide underneath here so that you can fit that plate. And then you really start to see the shape of the RSeat cockpit, and the seat bottom really looks like the under tray of a race car. You see the diffuser elements and the nose cone put together. It looks actually pretty cool, like a miniature race car. And as we unwrap the seat, which is pretty well protected, there's foam around the corners and then the bubble wrap around the rest of the seat, we see that it's a nice leather cover seat with a headrest that's removable. It's attached to the top with Velcro. And the backrest, that padding, you can actually remove it as well. It's attached by Velcro. And I imagine if you actually want more padding, you can probably stuff some more padding in there and then Velcro it back in. Installing the seat looks pretty straightforward. Just 4 bolts to secure, but it actually turned out to be much more complicated than it actually looks. Mostly because the instructions were not very clear. The 2 bolts in the back uses a hexagonal nut instead of the Allen key screws that they use throughout the rest of this seat thing. And I didn't know that, so I used the screws, and then I realized the Allen key doesn't fit in. So by then I already secured the front, so I have to undo the front, go and redo the back, and then redo the front again. So it was actually not supposed to be difficult, but I made it difficult by accident. Next, you adjust your wheel support plate, and here you can actually see 4 screws here on either side, so 8 in total, where you can move and adjust to your preference when it comes to your seating position in relation to your wheel placement. So you can have it tilting upwards, you can have it tilting downwards, you can have it mounted further up or further down, and you can even have it tilting the entire base or tilting just the front edge of the wheelbase. So it's fairly adjustable. The only problem here is every adjustment requires you to use an Allen key to loosen, move the screw, and then hold your very heavy wheelbase and then tighten it up. It's actually fairly simple when you don't have your wheelbase here, but if you have a heavy one, like a direct drive motor wheelbase, it's actually really difficult to hold everything up with one hand while you try to tighten up the screw again. So try to adjust it if you can now, but of course it's hard to imagine what a wheel looks like if you don't actually have one here on the wheelbase. On the wheel plate yet. But otherwise, get a friend. One thing I'm really happy about is that the pedals and the wheelbase fit perfectly onto the screw holes that are pre-drilled into the RSeat cockpit. So I just needed to put my Fanatec podium wheelbase, and I just put the screws right in. No adjustments needed, holes were perfectly placed. So that's something I can't complain about. And they seem pretty secure. Last part here is the butt kicker optional upgrade. So RSeat sells you this attachment where it attaches to the back of your seat where that sort of diffuser looking area is. And this is where the butt kicker attaches to. And the screws are very, very difficult to get to. This is probably the most difficult of all the screws within this whole seat assembly. And part of it's because I have to lift the entire assembly up just to reach one of these screws. And now this thing, by now I've mounted the wheel, I've mounted the seat and the pedals. So by now this is well over 200 pounds. So we sort of lifted one corner and just rested on a stand just to even be able to get there. Overall, if I were to summarize, I would say the product quality is pretty good. If you don't think about the build quality, the product materials and the product design looks beautiful and it's good materials, but the build quality and the way it's delivered is not very good. So what you have is a flawed product. And then the customer service element doesn't really help. Neither do the instructions are vague or sometimes confusing. That makes for a very frustrating experience. So once you set everything up, I hope that everything will be fine. I haven't really tried it yet. I've put everything together, but I'm still lacking a PC. I've got my pedals installed. I've got my wheel installed. Next up, I'll be putting on my monitor onto the monitor stand, not the test monitor I have now, but the actual widescreen monitor. So let's see how this goes. But overall, I'm fairly happy that I finally got over the assembly part of this, which is the frustrating part. So I hope I get to enjoy it soon. Really looking forward to it. Thank you again for watching. Please like or subscribe if you enjoyed this video.